Angela Davis was the kind of woman you couldn't help but admire. At 34 years old, she had a quiet strength about her, a mix of grace and determination that she carried wherever she went. Angela worked long hours as a nurse at the local hospital, and her days were filled with caring for others, often putting her own needs last. Her only free time was usually spent with her 10-year-old son, Malik, who was the center of her world. On a chilly Friday afternoon, Angela decided to stop by a department store on her way home from work. Malik had been asking for a new backpack, and she'd saved up just enough to buy the one he wanted. The store was bustling, filled with families shopping for the weekend. Angela smiled as she browsed the aisles, enjoying the rare moment of peace. She found the perfect backpack, blue with Malik's favorite superhero on it, and placed it in her shopping cart. On her way to the checkout, she grabbed a few other items: socks for Malik, a small candle for herself, and a bottle of lotion. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make her feel accomplished. As Angela approached the self-checkout, she noticed a police officer standing near the entrance. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with a stern expression that seemed to scan every customer. Angela didn't think much of it. Security was normal in stores like this. She focused on scanning her items, double-checking the prices to ensure she stayed within her budget. But as she finished and reached for her purse, she heard a voice behind her. "Ma'am, I need you to step aside." Angela turned around, startled. The officer was standing right behind her, his hand resting on the handle of his holstered pepper spray. "Excuse me?" she said, confused. "I said step aside," he repeated, his voice sharp. "We have reason to believe you're shoplifting." Angela felt her stomach drop. "Shoplifting? I haven't taken anything," she replied, her voice calm but firm. The officer didn't seem to care. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Step away from the register." Angela glanced around, noticing that other shoppers were starting to stare. Embarrassment and fear welled up inside her. "Sir, I paid for everything," she said, pointing to the receipt still printing from the machine. "You can check the receipt." But the officer didn't look at the receipt. Instead, he stepped closer. "Empty your bag," he demanded. Angela hesitated, her hands trembling. "This isn't right. I didn't do anything wrong." The officer's patience seemed to snap. Without warning, he pulled out his pepper spray and aimed it at her. "Don't make me use this," he warned. Before Angela could protest, the officer sprayed her. The burning liquid hit her face, and she screamed, dropping to her knees as pain engulfed her eyes and skin. Shoppers gasped, and some began recording the scene with their phones. A woman nearby rushed forward with a bottle of water, trying to help Angela rinse her face. "Stop resisting," the officer shouted, even though Angela wasn't moving. "I didn't steal anything," Angela cried, her voice breaking. The chaos caught the attention of the store manager, a middle-aged man named Mr. Carter. He hurried over, pushing through the crowd. "What's going on here?" he demanded. "This woman was shoplifting," the officer replied. "She paid for her items," a voice said from the crowd. It was a young man who had been in line behind Angela. He held up his phone, showing a video of Angela scanning her items and paying at the self-checkout. Mr. Carter frowned and looked at the officer. "Is that true?" The officer hesitated, his confidence faltering. "Check the receipt," Angela managed to say through her tears, still blinded by the pepper spray. Mr. Carter grabbed the receipt from the machine and compared it to the items in Angela's cart. Everything matched. She hadn't taken a single thing without paying. "She's innocent." "Mr. Nrblenison," Carter said firmly, glaring at the officer. "You made a mistake." By now, Angela was sitting on the floor, her face red and swollen from the spray. Another shopper had called an ambulance, and paramedics arrived to treat her. Malik's backpack lay discarded on the ground, a painful reminder of why she had come to the store in the first place. The officer tried to defend his actions. "She was acting suspicious," he said, but the crowd wasn't buying it. "Suspicious because she's black?" someone shouted. "Exactly," another voice chimed in. "If she were white, you wouldn't have done this." The tension in the air was thick. Angela, still in pain, could hear the voices around her, each one standing up for her in a way she couldn't in that moment. The incident didn't end there. Angela filed a formal complaint against the officer, and the video from the bystander quickly went viral. Within days, news outlets picked up the story, and public outrage grew. The officer was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation, but Angela didn't feel any sense of victory. The trauma of that day stayed with her, a constant reminder of how quickly her dignity had been stripped away. A week later, Angela sat in her living room with Malik by her side. The incident had shaken him too. He couldn't understand why anyone would hurt his mom. "Why did that man do that to you?" he asked softly. Angela hugged him tightly. "Sometimes people make wrong assumptions about others," she said, "but that doesn't mean we stop being who we are. We stay strong, and we fight for what's right." Her words resonated far beyond her home. Angela became an advocate for justice, sharing her story to bring attention to racial profiling and the need for accountability in law enforcement. The pain she endured became a catalyst for change, a voice for those who couldn't speak up. And though the memory of that day never faded, Angela found strength in her community, her son, and her determination to make the world a better place, not just for herself, but for Malik and every child like him. Because sometimes, even in the darkest moments, light can shine through. That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.